So this is the Ross Valley Sanitary District. Somebody got some feedback. Regular board meeting, July 15th, 2020. Reconvening to open session. Item 5, report on action taken by the board during closed session, if any, pursuant to California Government Code Section 54957.1, and we have nothing to report out. Item 6, approval of agenda.
I move approval.
Second.
Julia?
Gaffney?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Megs?
Yes.
Stilla?
Yes.
Borstein?
Yes.
Unanimous vote. Thank you.
Okay, committees report out. Finance Committee. Tom, you want to start that?
Sure. The Finance Committee met yesterday and we reviewed the financial statements and found them in.
Whoop. Uh-oh, Tom. Tom, we can't hear you. Maybe you'll have to reconnect. Anyway, I'll start it off if that's okay. We went through the interim financial statements from May, and we didn't find any abnormalities and found them to all be in order. And we went through item number 5, the resolution number 2015-90, which is something that we have to do every year. So that was a no-brainer. We're gonna have to do it, and we'll discuss it in more detail. Then we're gonna do the conducting of the public hearing, which that'll come up shortly. Are we back yet, Tom? So then we discussed item number 7, which is our competency-based training. This is one of the last things we're going to do, and before it gets signed over to us, and we're going to be maintaining it after that point. And it's really a fabulous thing, and we talked about it. Steve Mixis told us about it, and we'll talk about it again tonight. We're going to continue with NV5, and we'll talk about that. But they've done tremendous work for us in many different areas, not just doing all the nice logos and things like that, but actually helping us to do our public outreach and get out to the community and telling them, you know, where we're going to be doing stuff, like Laurel Grove or Sleepy Hollow, and that was very good. And then Authorize. And we'll talk about this in number 9, but we're going to terminate an agreement that we had with Brown and Caldwell and give it over to the second bidder that was there, and they're happy to have it because the first bidder was not doing a great job, and Steve will discuss that at length. And then we've got 2 emergency actions, and we're going to continue the action in Fairfax, and we discussed at length the idea of terminating the emergency agreement action that we adopted for the COVID-19 disease, and we'll talk at length about how that happened. Great job on that, Tom. Oh wait, I did it. Are you back with us, Tom?
Tom doesn't look amused.
No. Anyway, let's
I can hear your voice now.
yeah.
Keep
Anyway, Tom,
going.
I just, there you go. I just did the finance committee, and you would have said it only more eloquently.
Excellent.
The ad hoc facilities committee.
You couldn't hear me at all?
No,
Okay.
but that's okay. We did have a meeting online recently, and I can't show it to everybody, but we got a nice set of drawings, and I don't know who all got them. Oh, Doug's holding them up, so I suspect everybody got them.
Yes,
And-
actually, at the committee, you directed staff to distribute hard copies of the architectural plans today. That's correct.
And
All board members.
one very, very cool thing, if you look at the 3D rendering, there's a cute little forklift back in that storage area. And then tonight we talked further about that stuff, but we can't talk about that here. And then item number C, Doug, why don't you talk about the CMSA, which we met last night, which is different than usual. Doug. Hello, Doug.
Let me take you off mute. I'm off mute. Okay, thank you so much. We rejected all bids for the secondary clarifier number 3 rehabilitation project, which came in about 40% above our anticipated costs. And that was the low bidder. The high bidder was 60% above. And so we took the opportunity to decline to accept those bids. We're going to try and bid those out early next year. And if we do it correctly, because they were bid out late the last time because we had some staff changing. And so we plan on doing one a year for 4 years. We may be able to do 2 next summer if we do it correctly. And we might even get cost savings below the original engineer's estimated report. But at any rate, I thought it was the wise thing to do. To support the staff in rejecting the bids. We accepted the agency business plan, which had, I think it was 10, was it 10 or 9 business focuses for the next year. And I thought it was well done. We can get copies of that for anybody who would like that. It was put together quite nicely. Do you want me to go through those very quickly?
No, I think,
Okay.
One of the main things that's very exciting that the community is going to be very interested in is the installation of the new cogeneration engine and all of our contracts with Marin Clean Energy and our ability to produce even more power, clean power to the community. And in fact, it's very cool. If you go to the www.cmsa.us website, you can actually see in real time the energy generation, and we're sending power out on the grid every single day. And when we get the new cogen engine in, we'll be sending even more. So it's very exciting. It's been a long time.
We also recommended approval of the 10-year capital improvement program and issuance of $9 million in revenue bonds for 2021. So we have a long-term plan for debt issuance, none this year, but $9 million next year.
I might add that Tom Gaffney has been a driving force on the finance committee over there for a bunch of years now. And every time they say what they want to do, Tom in his statesman-like way says, well, maybe we should look at this. And that's usually how it ends up going. We really worked with them long and hard not to do a 5-year capital improvement in order to really figure out what we're doing over a long period of time. We really had to know what's going on at the agency over 10 years. And once you do that, then you can really figure out how we're going to finance the whole thing. And Tom worked very, very diligently to come up with a way to keep then the yearly cost increases at a set rate over the entire 10 years. You never know exactly because that could change, but we've got it planned out for at least 5, and we have an idea about the following 5. So good work, Tom. Really, you are amazing in that financial world, and we are lucky to have you, and so are they. My personal opinion.
Okay. Let me touch on the last issue. We spoke for nearly an hour or more on the fiscal year 21 commissioner officers for CMSA. There's been a history of CMSA for 16 years. There was a rotating chair. And then for the last 15 years, there's been people as chair for long term because of the bad boy reputation of one of the agencies. We kind of got over that 4 years ago and 3 years ago, and then about a year and a half ago, we lost the chair. The vice chair was Michael Borstein, who graciously stepped aside when Mary Beth Bushy requested that he do so that the other San Rafael rep became the chair. That was for a 6-month term. We talked about having a rotating chair. I even brought in December 13th, 2018, the way San Anselmo did it, which is you have to get a majority, but it's presumed that you go vice chair to chair. That was vice mayor to mayor. So I was suggesting treasurer to vice chair to chair, and rotating out. At the December 18th meeting, Dan Hilmer agreed with everything I said. He was from Larkspur. At any rate, the San Rafael reps did not agree with that then or now. So last night we had, I made the motion to have Michael Borstein be the chair of the committee, and I was immediately seconded by Eli Beckman of Corte Madera. We could not get to a vote without upsetting people. I have my feelings that we should have just done it and been done with it. But what we agreed to do frankly, I think all the board members should watch the video. I'm urging you to do so. It was interesting, and I think before you watch the video, you have to know that we had long discussions in December 13th, 2018, and then I had the date at home. I'm sorry, I think it was February of 2019. No, it was July of 2019. July of 2019 about this, and then we were said last night that, oh my gosh, we're being totally sandbagged. We had no idea this would come up. It's like, how did you? Anyway, so Michael and Mary Beth Bushy will be on a subcommittee, and we don't have an August meeting. So the first issue in September will be the election of board members. And I asked that all of the board members consult their full boards. So Steve, in light of the fact that we have a board meeting coming up next week, I would like to put an agenda item on that saying it'd take 5 seconds. We're asking our board, what is their view on whether we should have a rotating board member or we should have San Rafael have it for the next 12 years. So I'd like that so we can go back and say we did ask our board and here's the result of our board. I'm sure that Eli will do that too. We asked Mary Beth Bushy to do it as well. I'm sure she will. So that's the end of that. Nothing happened last night. We didn't change board members. We watched the video. That's the end of my report.
I have a question for Doug. When you said they go back to their boards, so are you going to come back to our board to talk about how we would share?
I asked. Yeah, we just got a request from Julia to have an emergency meeting next week, which is plenty of time for us to put it on that agenda, so it's on an official agenda, and we can be done with it.
But is that just for CMSA, or is it
yes,
going to?
Yes,
just CMSA.
It's not going to address what we do on our board.
No.
Correct.
No,
that's correct.
Absolutely not.
It's just in reference to what I suggested last night.
not. Okay, thank you.
Yes, we can put that on the agenda. I'll work with
Some
Julia.
some of the board members from San Rafael, some of the board members from San Rafael felt that it was being divisive, and sandbagging and lots of other words, and they started, and one of the members in particular started bringing up our history, and it was like, really, okay, let's get over that. Anyway, let's move on. I think that was good for CMSA. North Bay Watershed, I might just say we didn't have a meeting, but if Pam has anything to say, go for
I
it.
do. They have elected a new executive officer. Is it Andy? I want to say Peters. It's from up north in the Sonoma Water area. He sounds fabulous. He's been involved, kind of sort of on the outskirt of the North Bay Watershed Association over the years, so people do know him. And I don't know when he's going to start. Maybe in September. And there's also a thing coming, I think it's through the new director. It's about water and being homeless. And there's going to be 4 teaching sessions. And I'm trying to see if I can sign up for those. So that's it for now. I think there's the next meeting probably won't be until September.
I think so. Okay, number 9, verbal report by general manager.
All right, thank you, President Borstein. I'll report to you tonight on 2 items. One is the item that is setting the stage for our request for a special board meeting next week, and that has to do with our coordination with the Federated Indians of Grayton Rancheria on the Larkspur Landing site. So I'll talk about that. And then the second item is an update on our internal recruitment for the senior collection system worker positions. What has transpired recently? I'll just say that to begin with, our relationship, I think, is going quite well with the tribal representatives of the Federated Indians of Grayton Rancheria. I'll refer to them as the tribe. And at the Larkspur Landing site, as well as other sites. And what we do is we sign an agreement with the tribe to fund tribal appointed monitors to observe our excavations into the underground, into the below ground surface that are associated with trenching for sewer infrastructure or installation of valves on force main infrastructure, and in the case of Larkspur Landing, excavating contaminated soils for off-haul to appropriate disposal at municipal landfill or hazardous waste landfill. And so we signed an agreement with them, and part of the agreement is a language that if we discover cultural resources that can be remains of different on a spectrum of importance to the tribe, but they're all important. We are to work with them and address their preferences in terms of the disposition of that cultural material. It can be something more serious like human remains or scaled back to still important but not as serious, such as shell mounds, middens, and other evidence of their inhabitation. And Ross Valley Sanitary District, then as now, is very, was for human habitation, is very great place to live. And so there's a lot of resources in our district area that we come across when we dig into the underground. So at Larkspur Landing, we have come across tribal cultural resources, and we have been stockpiling them in the Connex trailer with oversight of the monitors, and the contractor moves them into either small buckets or other containers, and they are secured. The tribe prefers that we rebury these resources on site. They have a strong preference for putting them back in the geographic location but will agree to put them in an off-site location if otherwise not feasible. In discussing and meeting directly with them, we acknowledge that it was probably feasible to rebury, but that we would have to coordinate with the contractor. As they're out there digging, they have big holes, and then once they get it surveyed and corroborated, they're going to get right to backfilling, importing soil, and restoring grade, right? It moves quickly. So we've been working with the tribal representatives and the contractor to figure out if there's an opportunity and to, place it on the site in a way that it's less likely to be disturbed, right? So that future development at the site is at lowest possible probability of disturbing these materials again. So as you can imagine, to do that, we want to time it so we're in one of the deeper excavations. And when we're at the point where we're backfilling one of the deeper excavations, we would work with the tribe to rebury resources to their specification and then backfill over that. There is an opportunity coming up in the next couple of weeks to do that. And in discussing this with them, they want to have some written assurances that this area will be protected and recognized as part of the title of the property. And they requested a cultural easement for these materials. And so we're working through some of the details, but they've requested that the owner of the property, authorize this cultural easement based on the dimensions of this reburied material. And that's what we'll be talking about on Tuesday, if the board agrees to hold a special board meeting at that time. And we will have a proposal for you to consider. The goal of this would give the tribe comfort that if these materials are reburied on site, that they will be protected in perpetuity. So that's what's coming up. We'll get into more details, but I wanted to give you a good briefing up front. And before I move on to the next thing, happy to answer any questions, or if Andrea or Felicia want to offer any clarification. Thank you. Any questions?
I would just add quickly that it is a time-sensitive issue. I think, Steve, maybe you mentioned this, but I think the importance of that is that, we've already done this excavation on site, and now we're ready to backfill it. And we want to, before we have the scheduled backfill, which I think is, you're saying at the end of next week, is that right, Steve? We want to enter into this memorandum of understanding or agreement with the tribe. So that's why the necessity for the timing of the special meeting.
That's very correct. And so any questions, or we can keep moving?
Yes.
Thanks very much.
Didn't we already, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you, didn't we already bury some cultural items somewhere on the site? Didn't we run across some before? And are they going to be all located together?
Yeah, there were different discoveries along, last summer and this summer at different locations. Some were known as they were redeposited. Some were not. Some appeared more less disturbed, I guess, just to give you anecdotal information. But they're all now collected in one place, and we would rebury them in one place. And so it would be taking, the 3+ acre footprint of the excavation and then consolidating these resources in one location.
Steve, can I just add really quickly on that, just for purposes of, just so the board is aware, there are obviously concerns of the tribe as well as state laws that require confidentiality with respect to the location of these types of reburials. So I just want to say that so that we all know that to the extent, as we talk about these things in open session, we're all very cautious about asking specific questions on where remains and other cultural materials are buried.
I was going to actually suggest we not discuss this further because looks like we're going to have a closed session in a couple of days.
Very good.
Okay, item 10, if there's nothing else.
I just wanted to let you know about one more thing in my report, that we have been following through with announcing the availability of 2 open positions for senior collection system worker, a new job classification that you approved as part of our job classification compensation study from about a year ago. And the deadline for applying for these 2 vacancies, and also these were included in this year's budget. You might recall we've been queuing that up as well. So now this is the next step, is to recruit, and we received 7 applications on Sunday for 2 open positions, and we have interviews scheduled this Friday. We have 3 panelists from outside the agency conducting the interviews. And so we're pleased with how that's unfolding and continue to work on that. And Felicia is, as her HR, being responsible for HR, she will proctor those interviews, but will not be participating in them. And so that's moving forward. Following through on creating opportunity for our hardworking field staff for advancement. And then, we'll continue to be that once that's well underway, we will continue to work to fill open positions. And that's all I had for my update. Thank you.
Terrific. Verbal report by board members and requests for future items. Raise your hand if you got something. Okay, don't everybody raise at once here. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, let's move on then to the consent calendar, seeing none. Matters listed under this item are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. The consent calendar may include resolutions, therefore the motion, second, and vote will also be applicable to the resolutions and recorded accordingly. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless requested by a member of the board or the public prior to the time the board votes on the motion to adopt. So, would anybody like to pull anything, or?
If not, I'll move the consent calendar.
I'll second.
Okay, Julia? Unmute, there you go.
Okay, yes. Gaffney,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Megs,
Yes.
Stilla,
Yes.
Borstein.
Yes.
Unanimous vote. Thank you.
Okay, item number 12, and I have to read a special thing here. Conduct a public hearing and consider adoption of resolution number 20-1591, approving the report of sewer service charges for the fiscal year 2020-21, and directing the filing of charges for collection by the county tax collector. Item number 12 is to conduct, I read that already, sorry. I will now open the public hearing on this item. Steve, give us a little background.
Well, as the report states, each year the board must approve the report of sewer service charges for the current fiscal year and authorize the submission of charges to the county of Marin for inclusion on annual property tax bills. So that's our statement. And if, Felicia, do you have anything else to add as far as sort of the history or the context of this action?
I can just add a couple of things that, as the board knows, we we submit all of our sewer service charge calculations to the county tax assessor, and those sewer service charges are affixed to the property tax roll. So as required by law, the board is required, the board has to approve that action for the general manager to forward those tax rolls to the county tax assessor. So that's what the resolution is here before you. And the public notice requirements are that we hold this public hearing and we publish it twice in the newspaper in advance of the meeting tonight, which we've done once on July 6th and once on July 13th. This is the second year of the board's 5-year rate schedule. There is a flat increase across both tax areas of 6.6% over last year, and that schedule is shown on page 1 of the staff report, and it's also on page 8 of the annual budget that was recently adopted by the board. And happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Stephen. Felicia, any member of the public interested in commenting is invited to comment. I don't see anybody here from the public. Does the board have a chance to ask a question if they feel like it? It's not on my little. Would any board member like to ask any questions of
I
Steve?
believe after the public hearing is over, President.
Oh,
Borstein.
after, okay. So I hereby close the public hearing. Ow. Okay. Now we're back. Does any board member have any questions which they'd like to ask of our financial wizards here? Felicia, Steve, or Melvin?
This is pretty pro forma, right?
Okay. Yep, it's pretty pro forma.
All right,
So do I hear a motion?
sure. I move we adopt resolution number 2015-91, approving the report of sewer service charges for fiscal year 2021 and direct the filing of charges for the collection by the county tax collector.
I'll second.
Noting that there were no protests or objections. We have a motion and a second. Julia?
Yes. Gaffney,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Meggs,
Yes.
Stilla,
Yes.
Borstein,
Yes.
unanimous vote. Thank you.
Cool. Okay, item 13. Consideration of authorizing the general manager upon review and approval of council to approve task order number 7 and 8 to the master services agreement with CTS International Corporation for an amount not to exceed $156,000. And like I said earlier, this is kind of exciting because we've been doing the train the trainer, or train the instructor, or whatever it was called, and we're really going to start to take over this by ourselves and do the maintenance on the system with just us. So with that, Steve 1.
Good, yes, and yeah, I will invite our operation maintenance manager, Steve Mixes, to follow on with additional comments. But I will just affirm what you said a little earlier tonight, Michael, that for the competency-based training, there is a sunset. You know, there is an end to this process. You know, they have to go in, you know, that SWAT team needs to go in and help other sanitary districts and cities, you know, and we can't just have them here forever, right? We've got to learn from them and move on. So we are really getting toward the end of this journey that my predecessor had leadership in showing and initiating and getting underway, working with our operations chief, Steve Mixes. The substance of where we're at now is task order number 7 that's proposed gets into getting our pump station standard operation procedures up to date because we just rebuilt 2 of our major pump stations and upgraded the 3rd one. And we have some more pump station work coming up this year, pump station 14, 24, and 25 as part of the capital program. And so there's a task order here to make sure we have competency training on all vital infrastructure. And we're also going to spend a lot of resources in this proposed authorization on a third-party assessment. We actually were going to do that this past April, but because you have to do that in person and COVID was just getting going, we put the pause button on and took funds that were set aside for this past fiscal year and moved them forward into this proposed budget to conduct those third-party assessments, which is sort of, it's a benchmark on verifying workers' competency on using equipment they use every day. So most folks are going to do great on these in terms of operating our jetter trucks and the VACCON unit and the different equipment that we have. But some of our workers haven't maybe worked on those in those crews, and maybe there's some individualized training that would be recommended based on the third-party assessments. So we'll benchmark things. We'll also see how these assessments are done by the third party. So our supervisors and subject matter experts can turn around and use the same methods of assessing competencies going forward. We're going to have some folks retiring soon, and we're going to be bringing in new folks into the group, and we're going to have now the ability to do assessment on those new folks and have individualized training tailored based on what those assessments show. So that's a one-time thing, and it's like a passing of the baton to make it an internal process. And then also task number 8 that is proposed is ongoing management of our training program. Jim McPherson of CTS has been assisting us in organizing the annual training, getting input, getting requests, convening the training committee. And that's been really helpful to us as an organization, just to have a standard process that he's conducting for us, keeping us current, keeping us engaged on training requests that come up, or engaged in training suggestions that management would have for staff. So we request that we continue that relationship on task order number 8 for the year. And with that, Steve Mixes, do you have anything else to add to emulate what's going on for the board?
Yes, thank you. No, the employees are looking very forward to having the individualized training, and basically we have over 80 SOPs. And so it's not just the initial assessments, then we move on to the supervisors, and myself will be assessing the rest of the collection system workers, and the senior collection system worker. So we put a lot of effort in this, a tremendous amount of time, and just getting to the end of it, and where we actually take it over, just as Greg Norby said, we will eventually take this over. There's a lot of pride in it, and we're really excited on the next coming months and the next few years. We have a lot of new equipment, the iBlock truck, and developing the SOPs in-house and keeping it sustainable. If you build it, you must maintain it. We're really excited. So I appreciate what the board has allowed us to do, and hopefully will continue to allow us to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Any questions from the board?
How are we doing out there, board?
Love Jim McPherson.
This is something.
Pearson come to one of our board meetings and give us a little pep talk and maybe go over some of these things, because it really helps me understand what the guys are doing out there, but it's just an idea.
Even better than that, maybe since it's being turned over to us, maybe one evening Mr. Mixes could give us some examples of competency training.
I think that's a great idea. I think Steve could come in and do a competency-based directorship. You know, we can learn too.
So Jim McPherson and I are working on the milestones, what we've accomplished in the last 4 years and what we plan on accomplishing in the next 2 years. And I'm going to be presenting that to Steve and Felicia hopefully next week. So I do have a meeting with Jim on that. So I would love to present something to the board and Steve.
Yeah.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
Yeah, absolutely. We can do a presentation to the board when we feel like there's a good milestone to report. So we hear you.
Done.
Do I hear a motion?
Yeah, I fully support this, and I would authorize the general manager upon review and approval of council to approve task order numbers 7 and 8 to the Master Services Agreement with CTS International Corporation for an amount not to exceed $156,000.
Second?
Julia?
Okay, let's vote. Gaffney,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Yes.
Meggs,
You got it?
Yes.
Stilla,
I said yes.
Yes.
Borstein.
Yes.
Unanimous vote. Thank you.
Item number 14, consideration of authorizing the general manager upon review and approval of council to approve task order number 5 to the Master Services Agreement with NV5 for an amount not to exceed $200,000. Mr. Moore.
Thank you, President Borstein. This item before you here is an ongoing annual contract for communications for the district, and we're recommending the same level of budgeting as last year, which was actually a reduction from the previous few years, about 2/3 the level, and so we think we can continue at that level of funding. And just as a quick reminder of the functions of NV5 and the community outreach and education activities, you know, they're helping us with ongoing customer and community updates. They assist us with the monthly GM bulletin. They give us a skeleton. We fill it in with details of what's going on at the district, but they facilitate the production of this and have good input on editing and that sort of thing, and bringing in messaging from other, you know, throughout the state, because they have clients throughout California. They've really helped us in the last year with website and intranet updates. You know, it's helpful for any organization of our size. You know, we're not always lucky to have someone in-house that's a web guru, and so they're really our go-to folks. And Julia and myself, when we spot things on the website that need to be updated for communicating, Lawrence and Gabriella of NV5 are often get things done within an hour or two, same day type responsiveness. And so we think that's been really valuable. My sense is more than ever, you know, certainly with COVID-19 going on and not having an open public office, the website and the web portal is as important as ever. But even before this happened, we were emphasizing this to NV5, and they heard us loud and clear that the website really is a place where we direct, you know, plumbers and customers and folks about what our rules are and what our fees are, and getting business done in the district and the standard specifications, which we talked about last month. That we want to make our website functional that way as a front office of the district. I think many municipalities and special districts are treating websites that way. And NV5 really has shown competency, I think, in being responsive, and they gave us a heads up that at the turn of this year, at the end of this fiscal year, through the Civic Plus format that our website's on, we will get an automatic update that'll make it even more user friendly. So I emphasize that they've really been reliable on that, but also in, advertising, we have to advertise for various functions, including sewer rate increases. So NV5 has helped us with that. A year ago, they were instrumental in the Prop 218 process and outreach and the branding and the production of documents. They helped us with recruitments, the announcement of the open associate engineer position. They helped us format that. It had a very professional appearance. They help us with press releases, news advisories. We've broken into social media through Nextdoor, thanks to their research. And actually that wasn't easy. The Nextdoor doesn't just accept any public agency. And they helped us get in on that useful outreach mechanism. Communicating on capital improvement program and the construction that's going on right now, especially in the Laurel Grove area and around Larkspur at the Force Main project. They're really helping us get ahead of things there, getting the word out to neighborhoods, and they're on call and ready to help us if we need to really do focused community outreach physically. I don't see that happen a lot now with COVID, so we would use something like this go-to-meeting format to do it if needed. We stand ready and they can assist us. So it's going well, I think, generally, and we appreciate the board considering continuing this professional relationship, these professional services going forward, and happy to entertain any questions or suggestions. Thank you.
Any questions, board?
No, but just a point, because you mentioned the website. I really liked that on CMSA, on the front page, we have an immediate link to the agendas. I don't think it's necessary here, but I'd like to see, when you drop down open government, it says board of directors and meetings, and then I'm doing it right now on my tablet, and then you choose that, and then it says regular board meetings, and then you have to tap another place to get to the agendas and meetings.
Hey, Doug?
It would just be nice if it was 2 taps,
Okay.
open government.
Let's come back to that one, because that has nothing to do with this right now.
Well, this is what NV5 does.
Yeah, I know, but
They work on our website.
Well, yeah, it is what they do, and we'll discuss what modifications we want. Absolutely. Tom?
Well, I'd like to say that I think our public relations and our community information has really improved since I've been on the board. I think Steve Miskus has a lot to do with it. And anyway, so, I'm really pleased with, I think, their efforts. Did I mispronounce your name? Miskus.
And I live on this place called Laurel Grove.
So I'd like to,
I got to tell you, just
I'd
firsthand.
like to make a motion that.
Wait, hang on. I'd just like to say
What?
that living on Laurel Grove down here, it's a war zone out there, and NV5 clearly has done their job with the signage and the flashing lights and the postcards in the mail telling us what's going on, and still a nightmare, but not completely just us. It's everybody doing the work all at the same time, but they have been clearly helpful. Okay, Tom.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the general manager upon review and approval of council to approve task order number 5 to the master services agreement with NV5 for an amount not to exceed $200,000.
Second,
Julia?
Okay. Let's vote. Director Gaffney? You're muted, Director Gaffney, sorry.
Tom, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Unmute.
I'm not now. Yes.
Great, thank you. Kelly?
Yes.
Yes.
Meggs?
Yes.
Stella?
yes.
Borstein?
Yes. And I think we're going to have to suggest a new word for Webster's dictionary, unmute.
Thank you, unanimous vote.
Item 16, consideration of appointing board officers, representatives, and committee members for fiscal year 2020 and 21.
Sorry, Director Borstein, we still have item number 15.
Did I pass over that one? I apologize. Consideration of authorizing the general manager upon review and approval of legal counsel to execute professional services agreement with Harris and Associates for design and engineering services during construction, ESDC, for fiscal year 2020-21, gravity sewer improvements in the amount of $332,803, and the ratification of termination of master services agreement with Brown and Caldwell.
Thank you, President Borstein. On this item, staff is proposing that we award the design contract for the 2021 gravity sewer project to Harris and Associates in place of Brown and Caldwell. I try to describe some of the history in the staff report here. For my overview, I will say we've had a long, fruitful relationship with Brown and Caldwell, and they competed for this design contract in December. It was a close competition with Harris. We recommended awarding in January to Brown and Caldwell on the strength of their individual, the key members of their team. And they weren't good. They didn't communicate that people were leaving. One of the key team members left even before we initiated the contract. And then, but we thought, oh, okay, well, we'll meet this new person, and we met with them in the field, and it went okay, and we did some preliminary work. And then we heard in April that the key project manager, Eric Zalkin, who's done work on our large diameter gravity sewer projects, design work and during construction, had been laid off by Brown and Caldwell. And they didn't communicate with us really a transition plan. We did have a meeting, but then deliverables weren't coming in. And when we met with them in June, it was clear that they didn't have key personnel that were familiar with Ross Valley Sanitary District to do the work on the level that we have other consultants. And to refresh your memory, for this design project, we solicited proposals from 3 firms that had experience in our district doing design. So it was competitive. 2 of the 3 firms responded, and but now the key members of Brown Caldwell that have assisted us in the past no longer work for that company. Before we terminated the contract per conditions that are in the contract that we have the authority to do, before we did that, we contacted Harris and Associates to confirm they were available and willing to pick up the project where it has left off. It's about 2 months behind schedule. And they affirmed that they were available and described the team that they had to help us. They've have much experience in our district. I laid that out in the staff report, example projects that they're working with us on now. And they did the standard specs update last month to refresh your memory there. So we're after confirming their availability and terminating the contract with Brown Caldwell, we arranged a amicable transference of project materials to date, and we're going through that right now and finishing up the transition. And so I wanted to let the board know and ask for your ratification of my decision to terminate the contract with Brown Caldwell and authorize me to move forward with the contract with Harris Associates. Real quickly, the authorized amount for Brown Caldwell is $500,000, so $500,000. We reduced the scope slightly We're taking advantage of about $50,000 worth of work completed, survey work that's being transitioned to Harris. And so the amount that Harris is requesting is $332,000, significantly less than $500,000. If you add the expenditures to date on Brown Caldwell, you get up to about $387,000, which is less than the original $500,000 budget that you authorized in January. With this, we'll meet a critical schedule target to begin construction of a critical piece of rehabilitation on South Elysia Drive in Larkspur at Bon Air Road. You know the location. That's where everybody goes to go to any medical appointment you can imagine. A very busy area of our district that is scheduled to be paved by the city of Larkspur in the summer of 2021. So the reason why I moved quickly on these decisions was to make sure that we have enough time to do the design specifically on that sewer, but some other sewers as well. So we have some schedule needs, and that's kind of the background on why we have switched direction with our consulting team and are asking your authorization at this time. And I hopefully that gives you enough context for the decision before you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, board.
Looks like we saved money on this FUBA.
Well, we do, but we don't get as much done. You know, I mean,
Right.
I don't, we're in any hurry, you know, the scope of what we proposed going in is probably more than we really need to accomplish next summer. In context with, we remember last month, we learned the good news that we got state funding, SRF funding for the last leg of the Butterfield sewer. So now that is on the table as far as the capital program for the following year. So that puts less pressure on us on this package to have more things done because we're going to get that thing done. So in the context of the overall capital program, having a lesser scope, it'll cost less, that's good, but we are going to design that. Just want to point that out. But then it works overall because we're going to now get that other important capital project done next summer using state loans.
Is it a surprise that Brown and Caldwell dropped the ball like this?
Yeah, we've had a great relationship with them. Yeah, we were surprised.
Sorry. Doesn't Catherine Hayden work for them now?
She did get employment with them, so it's my understanding she is, but she wasn't working on these projects.
Oh.
Anything else, board?
Glad
I like it that we had a backup there and that they seem to be in the driver's seat and we're driving again. So good job, everybody. Do I hear a motion?
I move we authorize the general manager upon review and approval of legal counsel to execute professional services agreement with Harrison Associates for design and engineering services during construction Esdc for fiscal year 2021 gravity sewer improvements in the amount of $332,803 and ratify staff to terminate the master services agreement with Brown and Caldwell.
I'll second.
Julia?
Okay, Gaffney,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Megs,
Yes.
Stilla,
Yes.
Borstein,
Yes.
unanimous vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Deja vu. Wow. Here we are again. Number 16.
Michael, can we have a 5-minute break, please?
I don't have a problem with that. Everybody okay with taking a little break? Okay,
Thanks. I have to go to
5 minutes. I'm going to call this back after our little break here. What we're going to attempt to do here, rather than do each one and have a roll call, is we're going to go through each one and assuming we can agree on what we want, at the end of it, we'll do a roll call and just elect the slate all at once in the interest of time and expediency. And Andrea said that would be fine. And so we're going to give that a shot. So item number 16, the purpose of this staff, consideration of appointing board officers, representatives, and committee members for fiscal year 2020/21. So shall I just go through them? I guess so. That's okay. Board president for the next year. We have a nomination.
I nominate Mary.
I second.
I wait a minute. I want some discussion, please, before we move ahead. So I know this is very uncomfortable for everybody, but can I have a couple of minutes to discuss something about chair, president in general? It's been 10 years and I've been blocked as chair.
That's why we're here.
Can I finish, Michael? Please give me some respect, okay? So what I'm saying is you're all fighting over there on CMSA about who's going to be chair, but you've blocked me for 10 years. I don't, this is kind of, don't you think it's a bit weird that we don't have a policy, that we don't? I mean, there are municipalities that fight up the wazoo or they don't trust each other, they don't like each other. Fairfax is one of them. But I have to say, they rotate the chair or the mayor no matter what. So I would like to say that I want to support the board. You know, we've come a long way, but I think it's high time, probably before I die, that we look at being adults here and responsible and create some kind of policy or some fair mechanism. Because I'm just really like shocked. I probably should have gone to that meeting. I mean, it was like you guys are demanding that you want Michael to move up to chair by right, it sounds like, but they're not going to let you. But it's weird that you come back to your own board and then you do this to me. So I'm done with that. I would really like to see us, though, at some point, get some kind of mechanism in place so people can fairly go through the chair, whether they're liked or not trusted or whatever. It just is the way to do really good governance for the whole entire community. That's it.
Okay, thank you for that. And maybe we should have a discussion about that during the year. For right now, we've had a motion and a second. And for the secretary,
I nominate Michael because
normally that's what we do. Yeah.
I second Michael for the secretary.
Treasurer.
Yes.
Pam, would you still like to be the treasurer?
What does the treasurer do? I haven't done anything all year.
I don't know.
I don't think they do anything. I don't care.
It's a formal role, I think. Tom, would you like to be treasurer? You'll probably be the most qualified treasurer.
sometimes.
That's true. You're the money guy.
So I nominate Tom for treasurer.
Okay. So let me make a note here.
Is there a second for that?
Second.
Thank you, Doug.
Alternate secretary. Pam, would you like to be the alternate secretary?
Why not?
Okay, do we have a second for that one?
I'll second that. Oh, did she?
Alternate treasurer?
Doug, put you in as alternate treasurer? Or Michael, would you like to be alternate treasurer?
I think Michael's already secretary,
Okay,
isn't he?
yes.
How about Doug?
Okay, Doug, I nominate Doug
I'm-
for alternate treasurer.
I might as well stay there.
Oh, how convenient.
I second, I nominated him already.
CMSA appointments.
I suggest we
Uh,
leave,
I don't think we should change our commissioners. I think we should keep them the same.
I agree.
I think we're doing good work over there.
Okay. We will vote on all of these unless somebody has an objection. CMSA alternates. We keep them as they are.
Sure.
A representative to the CSRMA board. I've done it in the past.
Yeah,
Do you do anything, Michael?
No, not really. I mean, you attend about a 6-hour meeting on one morning or a 4-hour meeting and discuss how CSRMA works. And pretty interesting, but we don't really have any say in anything. That's the truth of it. So should we just keep those the same, Michael and Tom? Okay, representative to North Bay Watershed. Em, would you like
I
to
think we should leave Pam there.
Thank you, Doug.
continue
Thank
for
you
another
for
year?
support, Doug.
No, you would like to do it for another year, right? So that's it, yes. Board committees.
Standing finance, I would move Gaffney and Stilla.
Second that one.
Standing HR, I would move Borstein and Kelly.
I'm good with
I'll
that.
take that.
I wanted to do that.
Did you?
Yeah, they got it all set. Sorry. It's okay.
Outreach and education, you guys have done great.
I'd like to keep us together.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you for the support, Michael.
Ad hoc facilities.
Sorry, I'm starting to read.
Ad hoc facilities committee. As needed. We haven't done
Doug,
much recently.
Are you interested, Doug? Are you interested in doing the ad hoc facilities?
No, no. It's those, some of those meetings come at the drop of the hat, and I'm not able to commit to that.
Yeah,
I
I don't want to do it.
Yeah, one of the reasons is that Tom and I were just not that busy outside. We have no life.
Is it over, or is it something that we should continue, or is it something that?
It should continue until such time as we move into the place. Because some decisions or thoughts or questions might come up at a moment's notice, and then we could say, okay, let's bring it to the board. Let's not bring it to the board.
I'm fine with the two of you doing it again, unless you think that the president should be on it. But
I don't think that being the president didn't do anything.
okay, you're our
And-
drop in the hat guys. So I move Borstein and Gaffney continue as ad hoc facilities.
And Kelly and Mig, ad hoc committee for annual business plan.
I
That's
think we met
fine.
once. Yeah.
We usually meet once a year, sometimes
You guys
twice.
want to meet?
But yeah, I want to do it. I actually enjoy it. It's kind of like a strategic plan review. So
Yeah.
All right, I move Kelly and Meg stay on that.
Let's keep
Okay.
this. Okay.
I guess we need to discuss this one because we really have never discussed it.
Mm.
Ad hoc real estate committee.
I have a question. Do we really need this now? We're not going to be able to move ahead on Larkspur until after, is it like a 2.5 year delay because of the bond issue? Isn't that correct? I mean, there will be some pre-planning, what have you, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I just wondered about that. And then
Maybe what
I
I was-
actually
maybe
had
what I
brought up the fact about all of us being part of it because of the transparency. So we never had that. We never had that discussion.
You know, last year in the midstream, we put up a facilities committee because it became necessary. Maybe we could do the same thing with this. What do you think, Felicia? Don't make anything official right now.
I would actually recommend, since the district
Well,
has received responses to the recently issued RFQ, that it would be helpful to staff to have a couple of members of the board of directors involved in the selection of that consultant to be presented to the full board at a future meeting. So I think actually the timing is good. To Pam's point, you know, it's going to be a long engagement. This is an investment of time and resources for the district and the board of directors to go through this these property processes. But we're starting now, and we should get our act together. That's my 2 cents.
Maybe the president should be on that committee.
I'm willing to do it.
If we have a committee, Mary should be on it, I think.
Why should Mary be on it? Why wouldn't anybody want to be on it? Why would it
Because
matter?
she's the president. Well, then,
You're
what are you
breaking
saying, that we shouldn't have it now?
No. As an ad hoc committee, it means that two members, you know, that it can happen at the drop of a hat. If a question comes up, those two people can get together. When we start having a quorum, we then have to, Brown Act rules and schedule it and all that. And, there may be some nimbleness required. And it might not be a bad idea to have the board president in that one, and to say, maybe we need to have a special meeting about this, or I don't know, Mary, do you have any interest in? I don't think it would be much.
Yeah, I'd be willing. The whole idea of an ad hoc committee is that it makes decisions, or it comes together when necessary. So I also I think Pam may be right. I'm not sure we need a committee at this point. So I understand Lisa wants some input from the board, but also that in my mind is also the president's role to serve as the interim liaison between the board and the staff in between meetings. So I don't know. We're not going to sell the property in the next year, right? I mean, I remember thinking we were going to sell the property in 2017. So we're not going to sell the property.
Nor are we going to sell Kerner in the next year.
Right.
I see the importance of this, and I'd be interested in when it comes up to talk about serving on it, but I don't think it's necessary now.
Right. So
I'll tell you what, Felicia, then why don't we shelve this one, and the instant it becomes necessary, we'll bring it up on that board meeting and we'll figure out what to do.
Right.
Okay, that sounds great. Thanks, guys.
Okay, given that we have a slate, and Julia, should I read down just to emphasize? Okay, President Stilla, Secretary Michael, Treasurer Tom, Alternate Secretary Pam, Alternate Treasurer Doug, CMSA Commissioners stays the same, Michael and Doug. CMSA alternates, the rest of everybody there, Tom, Mary, and Pam, and representatives to CMSA boards, me, and then alternate representative is Tom, and representative to the North Bay Watershed, Pam. And so I guess, Julia, will take one roll call. And
Why don't you take both committees?
Do the committee.
we didn't, wait, we did the, I didn't announce them though, I'm sorry. Okay, Standing Finance Committee. We got Gaffney and Stilla. And HR Committee, Kelly and Borstein. Ad Hoc Education and Outreach Committee, Miggs and Kelly. Ad Hoc Facilities Committee, Borstein and Gaffney. Ad Hoc Committee for Annual Business Plan, Kelly and Miggs. Ad Hoc Real Estate Committee proposed at a later time.
Shelves.
Postponed.
For now.
So
Roll
I'd
call.
move that slate forward. I would move to approve that.
Second?
I second.
Third.
I did second.
Okay, Julia.
Yes. Gaffney,
Yes.
Kelly,
Aye.
Megs,
I'm going to abstain my vote for the president based on the unfair rotation, and there's no policy that's in place. The rest of the seats I'm okay with.
Guess that's okay.
okay.
Andrea's
Okay.
nodding.
Okay.
Sorry, just writing a note. Stilla,
Yes.
Borstein.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for the vote.
Okay. Item 17, review and determine a need to continue the emergency action adopted in resolution number 20-1586 for 31 Ellsworth easement pipeline slide repair in Oak Manor. Steve.
Thank you, President. Thank you, former President Borstein. No, you're still president.
That's okay.
Board meeting's over. Thank you. Yeah, quick update. I did give you a real-time update as of last week in the staff report. We have received favorable bids informally to do this work. Since I wrote this staff report, we are working through the contract with the selected contractor, and we have executed a right of entry agreement with the landowner at 31 Ellsworth. And so that's a good milestone. They're comfortable with the work that's planned. And the contractor has suggested a later date, as I noted in the staff report. That doesn't call into question the emergency nature of this work. There's just a matter of timing it for the best possible outcome. So to bundle and then minimize disturbance to the landowner. So to bundle this work in September, it's not unlike last year's emergency. We did the work around September as well. And we get ready for the wet season, and then the wet season comes, and the vegetation efforts with the selected contractor, who is fairly expert, by the way, in revegetation in Marin County. The best possibility of success is to wait until that time. And, you know, our goal is to not have to ever return to this site and have a permanent solution in place based on revegetation. So things are looking good in terms of cooperation with landowner, competent contractor, and we're working through the details. And I recommend continuing the emergency situation here for the coming month.
Board. Motion.
I move we determine there is a need to continue the emergency action associated with the slide repair to protect a pipeline along a sewer easement access trail on 31 Ellsworth Lane in Oak Manor, unincorporated Fairfax.
Second, anybody?
I'll second.
Roll
A second.
call? Oh, yeah. But you only hold up one finger. Okay.
Gaffney? Your vote?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Megs?
Yes.
Stilla?
Yes.
Borstein?
Yes.
Unanimous vote. Thank you.
Review and terminate. Emergency action adopted in resolution number 20-1581, declaring a state of emergency and authorizing expenditures related to the novel coronavirus disease 2019 COVID-19. And I might just say we talked about this yesterday in the finance committee, and we're a little bit surprised. Like, it seems like we're still in the middle of it, but both Steve and Felicia gave a very good explanation as to why we feel this is an appropriate action at this time.
Kick it off and let Felicia give some examples. When we declared this emergency, there were really three things in front of us as the pandemic was unfolding. We were concerned about making sure everyone was receiving their salary and benefits, and we had flexibility to work from home or take time off to make sure we were achieving safe social distancing and all the necessary measures that came out of the health order from the county that was issued on March 16th. And we had to learn some things. And so we were worried about our staff. We were worried about, if we needed to have emergency contracting authority for something that may come up. And we wanted to make sure that the federal government and the state government knew that we had an emergency here and that we would qualify for emergency funding through FEMA or Cal OES by declaring the emergency. So those things were in front of us. And since then, we've adapted. We've developed the COVID exposure control plan, and we just are updating it this week. And we feel, and we return more or less to full-time work with some work from home arrangements and individualized plans. So we feel we're at a point where we don't need to special emergency authorities to conduct the essential work of the district. And at this point, it's appropriate to terminate an ongoing emergency as we have mainstreamed the COVID-19 procedures in our day-to-day work and conducting essential work as recognized under the county health order. And so with that, and then Felicia, I'd like you to add on any further details about the rationale.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, so the public contract code does require that we terminate at the earliest possible date that the conditions warrant. And the General Counsel, Andrea Clark, and Steve Moore and myself have had this conversation over the last couple of meetings. What really are the activities that staff is undertaking under this emergency resolution? And as Steve just described, most of those actions and activities were undertaken early on in the coronavirus pandemic. So at this point, we do feel comfortable recommending termination of the emergency with, the explanation really that we have implemented an exposure control plan that's working, and we're updating that on a regular basis. We're not entering into any emergency contracts. We're not expending any additional funds on personnel, salary or benefits. In fact, we will be, though, taking an updated personnel policy to the board in August, which will have a telecommuting policy, which the district did not have before, as well as incorporating some of the emergency paid sick leave and emergency family medical leave that the Family First Coronavirus Response Act requires of all employers. So that is, like I said, slated to come before the board, but at this time the emergency resolution we feel that can be terminated at this time.
Any input from the board?
If we can terminate the emergency, we ought to, in compliance with the law, of course.
Okay.
So,
We have a
can I
motion.
make a motion then?
We have a
I
motion.
would, yes, I'm going to move to terminate the emergency action adopted in resolution number 20-1581, declaring a state of emergency and authorizing expenditures related to the novel coronavirus disease 2019, COVID-19.
I'll second it.
Go ahead, Pam.
Okay. Gaffney, your vote?
Roll call. Unmute, Tom.
Yes.
Thank you. Kelly,
Yes.
Biggs,
Yes.
Stilla,
Yes.
Borstein,
Yes.
thank you. Unanimous vote.
Okay. Item number 19A. I get it right here. Hang on. Performance and metrics. Operations and metrics report for June. Director Moore.
Great. Yes, I want to thank, as always, Steve Mixis and Patrick Philippelli for helping us pull together the monthly metrics report. And always want to draw your attention to items of note, which is on page 3 of the monthly reports. Try to give some some current information about activities of our work crews. And we're really making progress on this easement initiative, something we highlighted in this year's business plan. We're going to be working with NV5, by the way, on the website portal to try to improve our customer service and effectiveness working on the public sewer mains on private property. Okay, it's a real challenge here. I know you know this is the board, but we actually queried our database and calculated that about 1/3, that is true, 1/3 of our public sewer system is on private property. It's quite exceptional. When I tell this to other districts, they're pretty impressed with what our challenge is. So along those lines, we gave you an update from the line maintenance crew that we worked with Gold Street to come up with a design on door hangers to let property owners know that we were going to be coming onto their property to do maintenance and to contact us with specific instructions. This is one example of a way to try to then use our information management system to inform work orders of the future so that we know who to contact to get, so there's no surprises out there. And that we have, if there's a dog or some kind of offense or a need to advance notice, that we carry that in. And so I want to acknowledge the efforts to try to do the outreach in kind of an old-fashioned way with a nice, attractive door hanger with information to facilitate communication. So I want to thank the line maintenance crew for starting to use that tool. And yeah. And then I've got to thank Steve Mixis. He worked hard to try to analyze the data out of CMSA on the recycled water station there to come up with a credible estimate, because we started up dust control again as part of the Larkspur Landing cleanup. And as you can see, about 1/3 of the recycled water use this month was for that activity, and about 2/3 was for hydrojetting our sewers. And So we really increased our total recycled water tally this last month. And thanks, Stephen, for getting that data, figuring it out. Is there anything else you want to highlight, Stephen?
Now that we got our vac truck and our cameras, did we ever figure out, I see it was food fog was the issue down in Larkspur off of Magnolia?
So
on spill?
17 College Court, it was a combination of fats, oils, and grease on the top of the pipe with a bunch of grit on the bottom of the pipe. We have actually cleaned and CCTV'd that entire area. I'm working with Mark at CMSA and getting potential fog data from the restaurants. I plan on doing some public outreach. There's a lot of apartment complexes upstream, but we definitely take that one personal because it was operational. And we did all the sampling. We're in compliance with the Marin County Environmental Health, and we're no longer sampling. All our signs are down. But we're doing a full condition assessment, failure analysis, and making sure that other attributes that are correlated to that actual asset throughout the district are being looked at, and that'll be provided to Steve Moore.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate the question on the SSO. Sorry I didn't affirmatively talk about that, but it did reach the bay in that area. There's a way for the storm drain system that overflows at College Court. What was unique about this was this is a large diameter sewer, 12 inches. So it's semi, I guess medium really, right? Isn't it large, 18 or higher? But we don't do regular cleaning for lines 12 inches and above. And this line that clogged, with fats, oils, and grease, as well as grit, was a recently lined sewer in 2014. So it didn't rise to the top of our, our algorithm where we figure out regular maintenance. So what we've done in response to this, we don't want to repeat this. I want to tell the board this was an avoidable SSO, and that goes against our mission. And it affected the bay. It wasn't a massive spill, but it's the kind of thing we don't want to ever happen. So we're analyzing our system from larger diameter pipes, and what Stephen and his crews have discovered is we don't have a whole lot of similar cases. So since this SSO, we've done a lot of work, and fortunately, there aren't a lot of other situations out there like this, but I wanted to make sure we scoured the system to make sure we don't have a gap in our preventive maintenance, because this overflow is the kind that we should be able to prevent. That said, the fog discharges are significant. The grit accumulation was significant, and we want to look at potential source control in this neighborhood to help, along with bringing these type of lines into our regular maintenance, so we are preventive and don't allow them to get to a clogged condition. So it was a serious wake-up call for us. We're really fortunate that the overflow was not that significant. You can see it's 1,700 gallons. I'm not saying it's something to shake a stick at or whatever. We take it seriously, but it could have been much worse with that size of a sewer. And part of that is there's actually a backflow system that goes over to College Avenue that relieves some of the pressure, but we couldn't relieve all the pressure, and it's not something we can rely on. So that's the long story of that, but it does concern me and our staff. We take this seriously, and we not only are addressing that site, but looking throughout the system to make sure we don't have a similar situation arise.
Correct.
There's one other verbal, very 30-second report I wanted to make. It's just very cool. Over at CMSA for the past couple of weeks, UC Berkeley lab over there has been coming over and taking samples from the headworks and from the San Quentin pump station. and taking it back for analysis, looking for COVID-19 remnants, the RNA remnants of the virus, because with that you can see the health of a community. And I think they've taken 3 or 4 samples so far, and we're supposed to be getting the results back from that in the next few days, at which point I'll get it to Steve and Felicia and maybe send it out to the board, because I really think that's interesting to see how our community is doing. San Quentin's not doing well.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. It is, I have had board members ask me about that, and while folks have been talking about it, and the lawmakers and that sort of thing, there isn't a lot of capacity for analyzing these type of samples. And so the main work that's been done have been at big treatment plants like in South San Francisco Bay Area, Anaheim, LA. But because of the notoriety, I guess, of the San Quentin situation, there's been enough interest to put some of these limited sampling resources to our community, and that's great, for us to be part of an effort to characterize wastewater for public health characterization. There's not a heightened risk of exposure to COVID due to wastewater any more than there's a risk of other viruses. So it's there, but it's not acute. It's not like breathing, as you've heard from the CDC and that sort of thing. So we don't take it lightly, but we don't take sewage lightly anyway in our daily work. It's something we're already protecting. And really the analysis, as you said, Mike, of the RNA fragment, most of the COVID indicator is not viable in wastewater because there's a ton of detergent in wastewater, other things that break down virus. Not to say it's totally safe, but most of what they analyze is fragmental molecule analysis.
Okay.
Question for Steve.
Nothing else?
Mixes?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I could easily look back, but I think you just know this off the top of your head. There were 84 lateral fails this month. Is that high or low? I could look back in the data, but do you know, how's that on a normal month?
What was the first part of the question, Director?
There was it said 84 lateral fails this month. Is that a lot?
And the inspectors go out, and if anything's not right to the standards and specs, they basically fail, and it's a re-inspect.
Does 84 seem high or low? Or,
I can get that data and give.
No, I can look back. Yeah, I thought you might know off the top of your head. No big deal.
I think it sounds like a lot, Director Kelly, but actually, when you look at one way to analyze that is just look at the pie, and so the fail rate is actually, a small percentage.
Oh yeah, no, I noticed that. Yeah, there were a lot more passing, 663 or something. I don't have it in front of me right now.
It's not jumping out at me as an unusual, just from my photo memory. That looks like it's in the zone, in terms of the percentage. But yeah, I'd be interested if you look back, if you see anything different. But I think that's right in the area we usually see.
Okay, so if there's nothing else, our next regular meeting is on August 19th at 5 p.m. It says at the Ross Valley Sanitary District on Kerner, but I suspect it will probably be video conference meeting like this. So that being said, I guess this is where I'm supposed to take something and Borstein signing out, something like that. I don't know. Okay.
Thank you, Director Borstein, for
Good night, everybody.
Last year.
Good night.
Hi.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Night.